With season 5 of Stranger Things creeping around the corner, fans everywhere are gearing up for one last trip into the Upside Down. But what if the strangest part of the story wasn't fiction at all? Imagine a secret government facility hidden on Long Island where whispers of time travel, mind control, and interdimensional portals aren't just science fiction, they were experiments. Real ones, done on real people. This is the Montauk Project, a chilling cocktail of Cold War paranoia, conspiracy theories, and deep state secrets, ones that have been fueling nightmares for decades. So if you think Stranger Things is wild, buckle up, because we're about to dive into the real Upside Down. The Montauk Project is said to have taken place at Montauk Air Force Station, also known as Camp Hero, located on the far eastern tip of Long Island, New York. Originally commissioned during World War II, this real-life military installation was a radar base, part of the United States defense system against potential Soviet threats during the Cold War. The base was decommissioned in 1981 and later turned into a state park. But after the gates were closed, rumors began to swirl. Locals claimed they heard strange hums and saw bizarre equipment still operating inside. Some even believed underground bunkers remained in use long after the base had officially shut down. The Montauk legend truly took shape in the early 1990s, with the publication of The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, by Preston B. Nichols and Peter Moon. Nichols, an electrical engineer, claimed to have recovered suppressed memories of working at the base. According to him, Montauk was the continuation of another controversial project, the Philadelphia Experiment, in which the U.S. Navy allegedly made a ship named the USS Eldridge disappear from the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in 1943. The Navy attempted to render the Eldridge invisible using electromagnetic fields as part of a project called Project Rainbow. The ship allegedly disappeared from Philadelphia and teleported to Norfolk, Virginia, over 200 miles away. When it reappeared, sailors were said to be disoriented, fused into the ship's hull, or driven insane. Some versions say the experiment briefly opened a portal through time or space. Officially, the U.S. Navy has denied that any such experiment ever took place, and ship logs and crew records from the Eldridge show it was not in Philadelphia on the claimed date. Most scientists have dismissed the story as impossible, given our present understanding of physics and electromagnetism. Yet Nichols claimed that the experiments at Montauk included mind control, time travel, teleportation, and even contact with extraterrestrial beings. But his story wasn't unsupported. Enter Al Bielek, an alleged survivor of the Philadelphia experiment, who claimed he was sent forward in time to the year 2137 and later to 2749. According to him, his real name was Edward Cameron, and claims he was assigned the name Al Bielek after his memory was wiped and he was reincarnated in a different timeline. Bielek presented himself as an electrical engineer and a consultant in electronics. He began telling his story publicly in the late 1980s and 1990s. He and his brother were part of the original Philadelphia experiment in 1943. Belak claimed that he and his brother jumped off the ship and ended up in the year 2137, where he spent over a year recovering in a futuristic hospital. After that, he was allegedly sent even further forward in time to the year 2749, where he saw a holographic society governed by an artificial intelligence. He claimed to have his memories suppressed via mind control, but they began to return spontaneously after watching the 1984 film, The Philadelphia Experiment. After seeing it in theaters, he was overwhelmed with déjà vu, which triggered a flood of recollections. One of the most fantastical claims made by Nichols is the development of something called the Montauk chair. Using a combination of electromagnetics and psychic amplification, the chair allegedly allowed certain individuals, particularly a man named Duncan Cameron, the aforementioned brother of Al Belak, to project their thoughts into physical reality. The souls of he and his brother Al had supposedly died, and the government transferred him into a new clone body, which became the new Duncan Cameron. Nichols claimed Duncan was so powerful he could open portals. He was said to have created a time vortex through sheer psychic concentration, allowing people and equipment to pass through time and space. One experiment, Nichols says, opened a tunnel to Mars. In another, Duncan was told to let loose, and subsequently manifested a monstrous creature from his subconscious, which destroyed parts of the base before power to the chair was cut and the entire project shut down, or so the story goes. The monster was described as a hairy, growling, terrifying beast, somewhere between an ape and a monster from another dimension. It stood several stories tall and had glowing red eyes, massive claws, and emitted a horrible guttural roar. It was said to be not fully solid, as if phasing in and out of reality, a projection from the mind made physically real. Some versions say the creature resembled a Yeti-like demon, while others described it as a tentacle horror, more like something from H.P. Lovecraft and the natural world. While the time travel aspect grabs headlines, the Montauk Project also allegedly dabbled in mind control. According to the lore, the researchers continued work begun by the CIA's very real mkultra program, a top-secret series of experiments in the 1950s and 60s that used drugs, hypnosis, and psychological manipulation in attempts to control human behavior. Montauk, they claim, pushed these efforts even further, recruiting children with psychic abilities and conditioning them to become weapons. These Montauk boys were said to be programmed with false memories, their minds wiped after the experiments. No physical proof of these claims has ever surfaced, but they remain a chilling echo of real-world psychological programs that the government has admitted to in declassified documents. As the story spread, so did the speculation. Some claimed Montauk had been built over a network of alien tunnels. Others insisted that the base still housed time machines deep underground. In 2008, a mysterious hairless creature washed up on a beach near Montauk. Tabloids dubbed it the Montauk Monster, sparking theories of genetic experiments gone wrong. Scientists later identified it as likely being a decomposed raccoon, but in the court of public opinion, the legend only grew stronger. The Montauk myth has found a permanent home in pop culture. The hit Netflix series Stranger Things was originally titled Montauk, and its plot, featuring government labs, psychic children, and interdimensional portals, was inspired by the alleged events. Countless books, films, and games have explored the theme, ensuring that the strange stories from Long Island continue to echo far beyond its shores. While the Montauk legend no longer has its original primary storytellers, Preston Nichols dying in 2018 and Al Bielek in 2011, a small but vocal circle of authors, podcasters, and self-proclaimed survivors continues to champion the tales in 2025. Their claims keep the mythos circulating online and at UFO and paranormal conferences, even as historians and military records offer no corroboration. Among these are Peter Moon, the co-author of the Montauk Project, who is still publishing new volumes in his Montauk series and giving podcast interviews. Moon treats the Nichols-Bielek material as essentially factual and ties it to Nazi and Tibetan lore. Stuart Swerdlow is a self-described Montauk survivor and a regular guest on New Age shows promoting DNA activation workshops and Montauk mind control narratives. Swerdlow says he was part of Montauk psychic programs and still teaches deprogramming techniques he claims were used there. And there's Christopher Garetano, a documentary filmmaker who hosts the podcast Off to the Witch and appears on shows discussing evidence he believes suggests something happened underground at Camp Hero. Garetano positions himself as an investigator who thinks portions of the legend may be true, though he concedes hard proof is elusive. And finally, Rocco Fowler, one of the self-identified Montauk boys, who has told his stories on the Tinfoil Tales podcast in 2023 and later walked back some claims, but still says he has fragmentary memories of Montauk-style experiments. Fowler presents himself as a victim of time travel and SSP, or the Secret Space Program, project. So, was the Montauk Project real? There's really no hard evidence to back up most of the stories, and most of what we do know comes from unverifiable witness accounts, many of whom have been accused of fabricating or exaggerating things. And yet the legend continues. In a world full of secrets and half-truths, maybe the Montauk Project resonates because it asks one compelling question. What if the improbable could actually be true?